Chapter 7. Not long after I found the first object in the annual dig, my shovel connects with another. I hold the corded box in the air, provide a quick theory on the obviousness it once charged other devices that existed in the before, and leave with the majority of the class enthralled in their own hunts. Since it is a key time to sneak out of Impetus, with most of the community members at work or school, I bypass a shower and a change of clothes to see Gavin right away. Walking fast, I trek across Impetus to what I deem as the safest opening in the thickets to escape through. Rarely is anyone around the gardens, my biggest risk being Mr. Frank. I keep my hand on my pocket as stealthily as possible so the item won't fall out.
Where are you sneaking off to this time?
Stopping in my tracks, my breath catches. Someone knows. Caroline pops her head over the back of a bench in the events and announcements stage seating. I should have known she'd been hanging out here. She was the second one to finish the dig, and since she's obsessed with being the center of attention, she stays close to the place the entire community goes to for announcements and special events.
That's a question, Caroline.
I narrow my eyes at her, attempting to look threatening.
Huh, like you'd report me.
She sneers as she examines her fingernails, picking away at pieces of skin.
You're always running off on your own. It's kind of weird. It looks like you're sitting out here by yourself, so I'm not sure what the difference is. I'll have people looking for me as soon as they're done with the dig. No one will look for you. No one really cares where you're at.
You're a perfect match for,
the unpaired.
She stresses with a scrunched nose like it's the worst thing anyone could say. Pointing to the stage, she continues with a snicker.
Only a few more days.
Alluding to the futures ceremony. It's Caroline's way of implying she's better than me and will have multiple pairing opportunities in her future. But for me, it's not so clear. Little does she know I'm not opposed to the unpaired lifestyle. I'm not supposed to want it, which is the only reason I refrain from saying it out loud.
That's interesting, Caroline. For no one caring about where I'm at, you sure do take notice when I'm not around.
I whistle as I walk away, leaving Caroline without a chance to retort. Continuing my mission to get to Gavin, I detour as though I'm heading to the clinic. I don't think Caroline would follow me to find out where I go, but I need to be careful. As I walk past the unpaired housing, I wonder if this is indeed where I'll be by next week. Their housing is smaller than the paired housing units. For whatever reason, the sunlight doesn't hit these in the same way it shines on the paired housing. I'm sure it's a mental illusion with how the unpaired are viewed, but even for somebody like me, who sees the groups as equal, I can't refrain from noting an overcast sky on this side. Maybe that's why I'm drawn to it, though. The same way I'm drawn to the darkest of all the digging grounds. Once I arrive at the clinic, I stroll to the back. I peek my head around the corner to confirm no one followed me. Caroline probably resumed reclining on the bench after I left, waiting for all her followers to come find her. Crossing the road, I act like I'm observing the gardens while keeping my eyes open for any movement or noises suggesting anyone is around. With a quickness that comes from years of building confidence in knowing the exact location of the concealed exit, I launch myself into the branches. Once on the other side, I pull out the figure from the dig as it stares at me, like it knows it's been chasing me in my dreams for 12 years. I wrap my fingers around it, pick up a large stick with my other hand, and walk to the special spot Gavin and I have claimed to be ours. When I arrive, his back is turned to me, knees bent over the dirt, focused on his own archaeological dig. I have a gift for you. Gavin turns around with mud lining his nose and forehead.
Evie.
He smiles, wiping sweat from his face with the back of his hand.
I wasn't expecting you so early.
The annual dig was today.
Oh, that was your last one, right?
I sit down next to him. No more digs. It's strange to think about.
What are we supposed to look forward to now?
I'll be a frequent visitor to the museum post-ceremony to stay on top of what the other levels continue to discover. There's still much I want to learn about the before.
Trust me, there are more exciting things coming your way.
Like... Gavin shakes his head. I knew he wouldn't give in to that question.
So, tell me what you found today.
Happy early birthday, Gavin. I extend my arm and slowly open my hand to reveal his present. His birthday falls on the same day as mine, and unfortunately, I will be at the Futures ceremony that day. There are many unknowns with how my life will be after that point, including if my visits with Gavin will continue. It'll be a difficult habit to break if my days are no longer filled with our talks out in this little spot we've created to be our own. This may be the last birthday I get to celebrate with him. He reaches out to grab the item, turning it over in his hands.
They let you keep it? Like a graduation present? What was your theory on it?
I sit down next to him on the ground and watch as he runs his dirt-caked finger up and down the grooves in the top. Well, I didn't actually show it to the class. I kept digging afterward and found something else and showed them that instead. It was an old charger. Nothing special. Gavin's eyes widen. He knows me well enough to recognize I consider this important. I usually only risk stealing books from the before that I find. No other object would typically be worth it. Examining the artifact in his hands more carefully, he asks,
What made this one so special?
I've had dreams about something that looks very similar to this. Gavin freezes.
You've been having dreams?
Yep, for several years now. I pull a leaf off a bush, rolling the stem between my fingers, preparing myself for his reaction.
Why haven't you told me that?
Believe it or not, I don't tell you everything, just like you don't tell me everything. He also doesn't need to know the dreams started the day I met him. Gavin studies me for a moment. I can tell he wants to ask me more about the dreams, but instead he inquires,
So what's your theory about it?
I drop the leaf and take the object back from him, turning it on its side to look at the frame. It seems to be a replica of a machine that existed long ago. Maybe a kid's toy. Clearly steam came out of that chimney on top.
It looks powerful.
I know it was powerful from seeing it demolish forests in my dreams, but I'm not ready to share that. My guess is it was used to level ground in the construction of homes or buildings.
I can see why you would think that.
I mock him by rolling my eyes and say,
Okay, all-knowing one, what is it?
Gavin grins, appreciating when I concede to him knowing more than I do.
It's a train. It runs on metal tracks that would go from one town to another, so they could transport people or freight between each place. You see this little hinge on the back of it? Additional train cars could be hooked up to it, allowing the ability to carry more loads at a time.
Of course. The before was about maximizing the number of things in the littlest amount of time. That doesn't surprise me. However, it is strange to now have a name for what has been haunting me for so long. Train. Gavin, how would I have seen one of these before? It's been in my dreams for years, chasing me down. Either it or someone on it is always trying to kill me.
You've been dreaming that someone is trying to kill you?
Gavin barely opens his mouth to push the words out. His jaw set like concrete was suddenly poured on it. I wave him off. It's just a nightmare. Those used to exist, and people survived all the time. I'm fine. Holding the train to his face to get back to the point, I continue to press. I never knew what it was before. But now I discover one existed. How could I have known this? Gavin grabs the train from my hand, stands up quickly, and stuffs it in the pocket of his cargo pants.
I don't know, Evie. As you said, you don't share everything with me. I didn't even know you were having dreams. You probably read it in some book you found. Come on, I need to walk.
Obeying, I follow Gavin while silently disagreeing with him. I would have remembered it if it was in a book. I have studied every single page I've ever been able to get my hands on. I know them all, inside and out, and a train has never appeared. After circling the clearing, Gavin stops walking and reaches to pull a vine down from a tree. As he wrestles with it in his hands, he gently says,
I really liked the birthday gift. Thank you, Evie. It was a nice surprise.
I nod, still wrapped up in the idea of the train.
Speaking of birthdays, your big one is coming up.
18. The train leaves my mind in a flash, immediately replaced by the upcoming futures ceremony. Does your community still celebrate your birthday, Gavin? Impetus stops celebrating birthdays after 18. Once we graduate level 17, we are declared paired or unpaired, and that, with whatever role we are assigned, are all that matter for the rest of our lives. Age isn't discussed again until we begin showing respite signs. Gavin pulls off another vine and hands it to me.
Stop avoiding the topic. Have you given much thought to the ceremony yet?
A sigh escapes my lips as I take the vine in my hands, twisting it like Gavin does. I have been avoiding thoughts of the ceremony as much as possible, but it has been an inevitable topic, especially over the past month, since my level mates have not stopped talking about it. Soon, we will know what the board decided. If we become a pairing, we are assigned roles that contribute to the future of Impetus. It's supposed to be what we want.
No greater honor could exist than serving to repopulate and make this world what it always had the potential to be,
Mr. Pensioletta states during every futures ceremony. We are conditioned to believe that's the best of the best, what we've spent our whole lives thus far proving we are worthy of doing. Outside of creating children, the paired also get to work in the cooperative, growing food, producing remedy, manufacturing clothes, or any other crucial skill that contributes to our collective needs, as determined by the Elders Board. The paired ultimately keep Impetus moving forward, whereas the unpaired fill all the roles considered of lesser importance than anything survival-related. Ever since watching my first ceremony when I graduated level 8, I've had trouble stomaching it. If I have to live in Impetus forever, I like my life exactly as it is now. I enjoy working at the clinic, learning what I can, seeing Gavin. As each year passes, the more I struggle with Impetus changing my life with no say from me, especially when they hide truths from us. Gavin makes his own decisions. I still know little about his community, but sometimes I wonder if I would like it better than Impetus. If Impetus relies on another community to help us survive with food, then why aren't we allowed to know about them? Gavin refuses to answer that question, too. It's like Impetus doesn't want us to think we have the option of living elsewhere. Probably so we could only repopulate them. But I want to know what else there is. I want more options than Impetus. To answer Gavin's question, I limit my collection of thoughts to simply say, I don't understand the pairings. Gavin grimaces before asking,
What don't you understand?
I have a difficult time processing that the Elders Board decides which male and female are fit for having children, and which ones are unfit for that role,
yet have to take care of Impetus and supporting roles for the rest of their lives instead. Shouldn't that be an individual's decision? A smirk spreads across Gavin's face, but he remains silent. Gavin, what happens in your community? Were you given an actual job?
Suddenly, a thought I've never had before crosses my mind.
Do you have a pairing?
Instead of answering, Gavin continues walking, so I follow, my steps perfectly matching his.
Would it change how you view me if you knew more about how my community operates? Or if I told you I had a pairing?
I try to imagine Gavin spending time with another woman, forcing her to play the feelings game, sharing with her everything he did in his day, reading the books he found together. I don't want to picture it.
When I don't answer immediately, Gavin asks, "What do you want, Evangeline?"
I don't like how he uses my full name sometimes. He came up with my nickname, and it's grown on me through the years.
It doesn't matter what I want. Even if I knew the answer, Impetus decides everything. No.
Gavin puts his hands on both sides of my face to make me look at him.
No, they don't have to decide everything. What do you want? It's a stupid question. My world doesn't work that way, Gavin. But what if it did? What would you pick? What do you crave? Just think about it. There's a reason you're having these dreams.
Emphasizing each word, he asks again.
What do you want?
I pull away from his hands. I predicted he would bring up the dreams with plans to discuss them. That's exactly why I never wanted to tell him about them. I have too much to figure out on my own. He's had 12 years to tell me the truth of what he knows and yet chooses not to. The dreams are my only hope.
No, that's stupid. It doesn't matter. I don't have control over it. What if you do? He argues back. What if you do? Then what? What are you talking about? I don't understand why you want to play hypothetical games all the time. I was born in Impetus, Gavin. I'm stuck here. It's the way of our world. I swear sometimes you forget that we are no longer in the before, and there are good reasons for that.
The light on my wrist monitor flashes yellow, urging me to reload on Remedy. Holding my watch high in the air so he can blatantly see the warning sign, I continue my rant.
Like this. How would I have known I need Remedy without this? They know what they're doing, Gavin. I need to go.
Dropping the vine, I call over my shoulder.
Tell your pairing hello for me.
Running non-stop through the forest until I arrive outside of Impetus, I pause to catch my breath. I never doubted Impetus until I met Gavin. Days like today, he makes it clear he only sits on the outside. He doesn't know everything like he pretends to. He has his own life, and I have mine. Maybe there's a reason the thickets divide us. But I know deep down, Gavin does belong in my world. I never came around to accepting fate, but I know there's a reason that bee led me to him. Gavin made me different. The dreams made me different. Or maybe I've just always been different. But I need Gavin in my life, even with being unsure if I can trust him. The Elders Board won't choose that for me, though. Gavin is not an option for my future, since they don't know he exists. Despite all the reasons for my protest, that's ultimately my biggest struggle with the future ceremony. The first time I witnessed a ceremony was after I had already met Gavin. Even then, I couldn't imagine life without him. Now, there is only one clear fact about my future. Impetus won't get to decide it.